Damn, this thing should be called Book Without End. Hi, I'm Lulu, but for the next few minutes, I'll be your friendly neighborhood snark reader because I've got to warn you about World Without End by Ken Follett. Oh man, this book just went on and on and on and on.
2 hours later.
For a novel that has a knight on the cover holding his sword aloft, I expected a lot more knights with their swords aloft. Or any knights doing anything outside the little prologue bit, where we see this knight who's like hiding this super secret thing that gets other readers all worked up and excited about whatever the super secret thing is. Maybe a little more knight stuff happens in this zillion page tome, but I ended up tossing this brick, or concrete block, into the trash before I could find out. Yes, I actually threw it away. Normally, I'll just toss books I don't like into the little free library, but I just couldn't do that to some poor reader out there. I did it for the greater good. No, I'm not a monster who gleefully tosses the corpses of unloved books into the trash. Only once have I ever committed the heinous crime of tomicide. Now onto the contents of the concrete block in question. While I can't say nothing happened, I can say that nothing interesting or believable happened. The medieval teens in this book just spend their ye old merry time getting it on in various explicit ways, described in the most fetishy of details. We hop from scene to scene, finding out who's getting it on with who, how they get it on, and who they want to get it on with next. One might begin to suspect that the author's just really excited to write about teenagers humping each other, but obviously he does it because he's an artiste whose gritty realism is just too much for a normie like me to handle. Between bouts of humping, the teenagers speak in great detail of architecture and the wool industry. And when I say great detail, I mean great detail. You thought the humping scenes were detailed? Well, just wait till you get to the wool dyeing scenes. And by wool dyeing scenes, I don't mean you get to see any actual wool dyeing. Oh no, that might be too exciting. The characters just talk about the process as if it's exciting to anybody. So the moment I got to the halfway mark and suspected this is all I was going to find in this book, I decided to go to Wikipedia and read a summary of the second half just to be sure. And basically, after the place I left off, there was some more humping, and then a little more humping, and then a little more humping after that. Then people die of the plague, and then it turns out the super secret night thing was something. I already can't remember. It wasn't all that good a secret. Okay, so the plot sucked, but what about the characters? Some of the world's best novels have very little plot, but solid, memorable characters. Well, let me tell you now, they were the worst part of all. They just weren't likable or remotely tolerable. Our main character is boring as dirt, and his lady love is supposed to be some kind of strong and independent woman. But really, she's just extraordinarily self-centered and has anachronistically 21st century ideas and attitudes. I suspect this is probably because the author wanted to pretend to be a feminist in the midst of all of his very detailed descriptions of boobies of all shapes and sizes. So many medieval memories! Anyway, moving on from the boobies, which the author was incapable of doing, let's talk about the main character's brother. I get he's supposed to be horrible and unlikable. You gotta have villains, right? However, not only is he over the top disgusting, committing acts of non-consensual nature and fantasizing about committing acts of unconsensual nature all the time, every second, but our hero, the main character, helps him get away with the most violent of his attacks.
What? What the f-
Alright, and the last thing, not the last thing, but the final one that I feel like discussing, is the recurring use of love potions. Yes, you heard me, love potions, in a setting that's supposed to be gritty and realistic. Now, obviously, it's just supposed to be an herbal aphrodisiac that the people of yore would have called a love potion. But with the way this tonic functions, it might as well be a magical fantasyland potion that forces men to hump the nearest woman around no matter how repulsive they find her. Not to be crude, but I think modern literature would be vastly improved If authors just, how do I say this politely, got a few things out of their system before they sat down to write, maybe then they wouldn't be so tempted to work out all their Freudian frustrations onto the page. And then we readers would be spared from having to read about all their kinky fantasies. Maybe it's just me, but I'm just not into reading about people getting it on. It's like the weirdest kind of voyeurism, and it's almost always the most lame and unnecessary part of the book. And since this book was like 98% humping, it was consequently 98% lame and unnecessary. The 2% good part was just that opening hook and the spiffy cover. Final score? 1 magical medieval teen love potion out of 10. But that's just this reader's opinion. If you disagree, drop a comment, tell me what I missed, like and subscribe for more content like this in the future, and I'll see you in the next video.